Chapter 17. The Escape. At that moment, the door they had shut behind them burst open. Toothbats charged into the corridor, followed by Gap and Filling.
"Oh no,"
moaned Milktooth.
"Don't they ever give up?"
Baby Rottentot was still howling and wailing. His one rotten tooth wobbled backwards and forwards in his mouth.
"Here you are,"
Reece William called out.
"You can have the baby back. We've got what we came for."
And with that he pushed Baby Rottentot towards the Toothbats. The crying and screaming of Baby Rottentot was getting louder and louder. The Toothbats put their hands over their long pointed ears.
"Come on,"
Reece William muttered to Milktooth.
"We'd better go while we can. Out the same way we came in."
The little pair flapped their wings for all they were worth. They shot up towards the high window ledge. "What's going on?" a voice bellowed from the doorway. "Where's my son? What have they done with him?" At the sound of the Duke of Decay's voice, Baby Rottentot stopped crying.
"Dada,"
he gurgled.
"My tooth's a gone."
The Duke pushed his way into the corridor and picked up Baby Rottentot. The Duke looked around. "Where are they?" he yelled. "Where are those two little kidnappers?" Reece William and Milktooth had landed on the window ledge. They had stopped to see what was happening. The Toothbat and Gap and Filling all pointed up to them. "After them!" the Duke screamed. "Get them! Get those teeth!"
"Come on," mumbled Milktooth. "Let's go. I don't want to get caught again. I just want to go home. I miss me mum."
Reece William nodded and the two tiny companions flew out of the Clark Palace. "Fools!" the Duke screamed again. "Don't let them get away!"
"One of my tooths! One of my tooths!"
gurgled Baby Rottentot. The Toothbats flapped their wings and flew up toward the window after the escaping pair. "Go on!" yelled the Duke at Gap and Filling. "After them! This is all your fault, getting caught in the first place and leaving the fairy behind." Gap and Filling looked glumly at each other. Then they followed the Toothbats up and out the window. The Duke, still holding the giggling Baby Rottentot, went after them. Reece William and Milktooth had landed outside the palace and were running back the way they had come.
"Need to get back to the boat,"
panted Reece William. Milktooth didn't say anything, just nodded his little head. Suddenly there was a loud screeching sound behind them. The Toothbats. Not just the ones that had been chasing them either. The Toothbats they had seen outside the palace were after them too. They had heard the screeching and had followed.
"Oh no,"
panted Milktooth. They reached the path leading down to Cavity Cove. Suddenly the Toothbats started throwing spears. Two smacked into the ground at the little pair's feet.
"Help!"
wailed Milktooth. Reece William grabbed hold of Milktooth's hand and began running down the path towards the boat. The Toothbats had landed and were running after them. The path down to the cove was narrow with high rocky walls, so the bats couldn't fly down. Puffing and panting after the bats came Gap and Filling. Finally, marching along behind them all was the Duke of Decay. He was still carrying the awful Baby Rottentot. The baby was still giggling and gurgling.
One of my tooths! One of my toofies!"
Reece William and Milktooth had almost reached the bottom of the path. They could both see the jetty and their little boat. Another spear whistled past their ears. The screeching of the toothbats was getting louder and louder. Milktooth suddenly stumbled and tripped. He crashed into Reece William and they tumbled head over heels. The toothbats screeched with delight. From higher up the path, the Duke of Decay began to laugh. Reece William got to his feet. His knees were shaking with fright, but he was determined to get to the boat. "Come on," he said to Milktooth, who had also picked himself up. "We're nearly there. Just be careful on the jetty." The toothbats had reached the bottom of the path. Reece William and Milktooth quickly and carefully crossed the rotting jetty. "Get them now," hissed the Duke of Decay in anger. The toothbats charged. 6 of them rushed onto the jetty at once. Reece William and Milktooth had just reached their little boat. "Come on, jump," Reece William said to Milktooth, "before the jetty falls over." They both jumped and landed in the little boat with a thump. Reece William quickly untied the rope which held the boat to the jetty. The toothbats raced along the jetty. The jetty was so rotten, like everything else on the island, it began to crack and crumble. "Stop, you idiots!" howled the Duke, but it was far too late. The jetty fell apart under the weight of the toothbats. They fell with a loud splash into the sticky toothpaste. The wave caused by the toothbats pushed the little boat further away from land. "No!" the Duke roared. "Don't let them escape!" The toothbats, who had not been on the jetty, tried to fly after them. The entrance to the cove was very narrow. The bats all tried to fly through at once. Several bounced off the rock walls. They crashed into the others, and all of them fell down into the toothpaste. Now all the Duke's toothbats were splashing about in the toothpaste. They struggled about, trying to get back to land. The splashing pushed the 2 companions' little boat further and further away. "No, no, no!" screamed the Duke. "The boat!" he yelled at Gap and Filling. "Get your boat and go after them!" But the other boat that Gap and Filling had used was nowhere to be seen. It had been tied up to the old jetty when it collapsed. The boat, like the jetty, had sunk into the toothpaste. The Duke howled again in rage. Baby Rottentot looked at his father and began to howl too. "Loss of my toofs! Loss of my toofs!" he wailed. In the little boat, Reece William and Milktooth had reached the mouth of the cove. "Careful!" Milktooth cried out. "Remember those sharp rocks. We don't want to sink now. We're nearly free." Reece William used the rudder to guide the little boat as he had before. Once more Milktooth stood at the front of the boat. He called out, "Left, right, no, right a bit more. Now quickly, left." The little boat moved in and out of the sharp, dangerous rocks. "That's it," shouted Milktooth. "Almost there. Left, right, left, left. Hurrah! Made it!" The tiny boat sailed past the last jagged tooth-like rock and out into the toothpaste sea. Reece William and Milktooth turned to look back at the terrible island. They could still hear the Duke of Decay and Baby Rottentot howling and wailing with anger. "We've done it! We've done it!" Milktooth cried with joy. Reece William smiled, showing all his teeth. "Yes, we have, haven't we?" he said. "Right then, let's go home." And with relief the 2 companions whooped with joy. The little boat sailed on across the toothpaste sea back towards the Molar Mountains. They had truly done it. Every now and then they glanced behind them. The Duke, The toothbats, Gap and Filling, were nowhere to be seen. They really had escaped.